In the heart of the Galactic Coalition, a sprawling assembly hall buzzed with urgency. The Council of Elders, composed of representatives from the galaxy's most advanced civilizations, sat in a tense semicircle, their holographic displays flickering ominously. Reports of war had spread like wildfire, igniting fears of a catastrophic conflict that could plunge the entire coalition into chaos. At the center of this storm stood Maya Carter, a young human diplomat with striking determination in her hazel eyes. Zarek's forces have begun encroaching on neutral territories, Elder Thalia, a wise and venerable alien with luminescent skin, declared, her voice resonating through the hall. If we do not act swiftly, we risk losing everything we have built. Maya leaned forward, feeling the weight of her peers' expectations pressing down upon her. The coalition, an intricate web of diverse species, had fought hard for centuries to maintain peace among their worlds. Yet here they were, on the brink of annihilation, with Zarek, the brutal leader of the Dracarian Empire, poised to exploit their divisions. Elder Thalia, Maya began, her voice steady despite the tension in the room. I believe we can avoid war through diplomacy. If we confront Zarek directly, we can negotiate terms before he launches an all-out assault. A murmur rippled through the council, filled with skepticism. Seleth, a towering figure from the reptilian Saltrix species, scoffed, "You propose to negotiate with a warlord who thrives on chaos? He will crush you without a second thought." "Perhaps, but a direct challenge may be our only hope," Maya countered, her heart racing. According to Dracarian custom, a diplomatic duel can resolve disputes without bloodshed. If I can confront Zarek in front of the entire coalition, we might appeal to his ego and force him to the negotiating table. Elder Thalia nodded slowly, weighing Maya's words. It is a risky gambit, but it might be our only chance. Zarek thrives on fear. Show him a united front, and he may reconsider his course of action. The council erupted into heated discussions, voices rising as they debated the merits of Maya's proposal. Some argued for a military response, others for a more cautious approach. Maya felt her resolve harden. This was her moment to prove that humanity was not just a fledgling power, but a key player in the galaxy. Finally, the council quieted, and Elder Thalia raised her hand for silence. "We will take a vote," she said decisively. "All in favor of allowing Maya Carter to confront Zarek in a diplomatic duel?" Hands were raised hesitantly at first, but soon a majority of the council members followed suit. Maya's heart soared as she recognized the glimmers of hope in their eyes. They believed in her plan. As the meeting adjourned, Maya stepped out into the cool, sterile corridors of the council chamber. The weight of responsibility settled heavily upon her shoulders, but she welcomed it. She had seen enough war in her life, it was time for a change. Maya began preparing for her journey to Dracarian territory, gathering intelligence and allies from the coalition. Each alliance she forged would be crucial in the coming days. The stakes were impossibly high, but she refused to falter. The galaxy needed a champion, and she was determined to rise to the challenge. As she packed her belongings, Maya couldn't shake the feeling that the forces of fate were at play. The shadow of war loomed large, but she would shine a light into that darkness. If her gambit succeeded, she could pave the way for a new era of peace. A future where humanity and their allies could stand united against tyranny. Maya Carter stood aboard the sleek starship Aegis Asterisk, the hum of its engines resonating in the silence of her quarters as she plotted her course through the galaxy. Her destination was Valter, a frigid world known for its mercurial rulers and treacherous landscapes. With a clock ticking down to her duel with Zarek, Maya knew that securing alliances was paramount. She glanced at the star map, the colors of various planetary systems blending into a tapestry of uncertainty. Each stop on her journey carried the potential for hope or disaster. As Aegis Asterisk descended through Valter's swirling snowstorms, Maya could see the crystalline structures of the capital city, Ilukari, glistening in the weak sunlight. Landing at the central platform, she was met by a contingent of guards, their imposing figures cloaked in thick furs and armor. The leader, a massive being with emerald scales and piercing yellow eyes, stepped forward, his voice like gravel. "State your business, human." "I am Maya Carter, envoy of the Galactic Coalition," she replied, keeping her tone steady. "I seek an audience with King Tharos." The guards exchanged glances, skepticism evident on their faces. "The king does not meet with your kind lightly. You will need to prove your worth." Maya clenched her fists, frustration bubbling beneath her calm exterior. "I offer knowledge of a shared enemy, Zarek of the Dracarian Empire. He threatens your realm, and I seek your alliance against him." After a tense moment, the guards conferred and begrudgingly allowed her entry. Inside the palace, the air was heavy with the scent of burning incense and the palpable tension of politics. King Tharos, a behemoth of a creature draped in furs, sat upon a throne carved from ice. His eyes, sharp and calculating, scrutinized her as she entered. "You seek my allegiance, human," he stated, his voice rumbling like distant thunder. "But why should I trust a species so young in the galaxy?" "Because I understand what it means to fight for survival," Maya countered, stepping forward. "Zarek's reign of terror will spill over into your borders, and the coalition stands with you. But I need your strength to ensure we have a fighting chance." Tharos leaned back, intrigued. "And how do you propose to accomplish this?" Maya spoke passionately, outlining her plan to confront Zarek. She detailed how their combined forces could deter the warlord's advance and establish a foothold against him. As she spoke, she could see Tharos weighing her words, his expression shifting from skepticism to consideration. "Very well," he finally said, a slow smile creeping across his features. "I will lend you my warriors, but know this: if you fail, my forces will not be put at risk for a lost cause." With Tharos' support secured, Maya's confidence surged, but time was of the essence. Her next destination was Kaldor Prime, home to the enigmatic Kaldra species, known for their advanced technology and unmatched intelligence. Legends spoke of their unique ability to manipulate energy, making them formidable allies. As she arrived on Kaldor Prime, the vibrant city pulsated with life. Towering spires of shimmering metal stretched toward the sky, reflecting the sun's light in brilliant hues. Yet, beneath the surface, a sense of distrust lingered. The Kaldrath had long remained neutral, refusing to engage in conflicts that didn't directly affect them. Maya was escorted to the Grand Council Hall, where she faced a panel of stoic Kaldrath leaders. Their eyes glimmered with curiosity and wariness. "Why should we involve ourselves in your fight?" one elder asked, his voice cool and measured. "Our history is one of peace." "Because your expertise is invaluable," Maya implored. "Zarek's ambitions could endanger all civilizations, including yours. Together, we can devise strategies to outmaneuver him. Help us, and we will ensure the safety of Kaldor Prime." The elders exchanged glances, debating her words. Just as Maya felt the weight of despair creeping in, a voice broke through the tension. "I sense your conviction, human. Perhaps there is merit in this alliance," an elder finally said. Maya's heart raced as she received their conditional support. With each alliance forged, the foundation of her plan solidified. Yet deep within, she felt the shadows of doubt creeping in. Zarek would not take her actions lightly. As she prepared to leave Kaldor Prime, she steeled herself for the storm that lay ahead. Maya's journey had only just begun, and every moment counted. She would gather more allies, expose Zarek's deceit, and prove that humanity could stand as equals among the stars. The fate of the coalition hung in the balance, and she was determined to tip it in their favor. The day of the diplomatic duel dawned, shrouded in an unsettling stillness. Maya stood in her quarters aboard the Aegis Asterisk, adorned in formal attire, a sleek, shimmering tunic that reflected the colors of the coalition's flag. The ship had landed on Dracaria, and she could already hear the distant roars of the crowd gathering for the event. As she stared into the mirror, her reflection stared back with fierce determination, masking the storm of anxiety swirling within her. "Today, you will face Zarek," she whispered to herself, taking a deep breath to steady her nerves. It was not merely a debate. It was a battle of wills that could determine the fate of the galaxy. If she faltered, it would embolden the warlord and threaten the fragile alliances she had painstakingly forged. The arena was a vast, open expanse, surrounded by towering cliffs that overlooked the chaotic landscape of Dracaria. Zarek had chosen this location intentionally, a display of power, a reminder of his dominion. As Maya entered the arena, she was struck by the sheer intensity of the atmosphere. The stands were packed with Dracarians, their fierce faces betraying a mix of excitement and hostility. Whispers and jeers rippled through the crowd as they caught sight of the human envoy. On the opposite side, Zarek stood, a towering figure cloaked in dark armor, exuding an aura of menace. His scales glistened under the harsh light, and a cruel smile curled at the corners of his mouth. "Welcome, little human," he called, his voice booming across the arena. "I hope you have come prepared for your inevitable defeat." Maya felt the weight of his words, but she wouldn't allow fear to consume her. "You underestimate humanity's resolve, Zarek," she replied, her voice ringing with conviction. This is not just about you or me, it's about the future of the coalition. The duel began, and the terms were clear. Each participant would present their case, arguing for the peace or war of the coalition. The atmosphere crackled with tension as the two opponents exchanged verbal blows, their words as sharp as blades. Zarak opened with a display of bravado, painting a picture of strength and glory for the Dracarians. He spoke of conquest and power, igniting cheers from the crowd. But as he concluded, Maya seized the moment. Drawing upon her knowledge of Dracarian history, she countered his rhetoric with facts that exposed the hollowness of his claims. Your empire thrives on fear and oppression, Zarak, she stated, her voice unwavering. Real strength lies in unity, not domination. The crowd shifted uneasily at her words. For a moment, uncertainty flickered in their eyes. Zarak, sensing the shift, intensified his attacks, attempting to drown her out with threats and bluster. You dare to lecture me about strength? I will crush any who oppose me, he bellowed, his voice echoing off the cliffs. But Maya did not falter. Drawing from her experiences on Valter and Calder Prime, she shared stories of resilience, of how diverse species united against common foes. Together, we can achieve greatness, but divided, we will fall, she declared passionately, her words reverberating in the arena. The energy in the arena began to change as whispers spread. Maya could see a growing unease among the Dracarians, seeds of doubt planted by her words. It was then that chaos erupted. Zarak's loyalists, angered by Maya's challenge to their leader, surged into the arena, intent on silencing her. In an instant, the debate transformed into a brutal melee. Maya's heart raced as she ducked behind a nearby pillar, her mind racing with strategies. She could hear Zarak shouting orders to his forces, but her training kicked in. She had prepared for this, she had anticipated the worst. With a deep breath, Maya rallied the coalition members in attendance, urging them to stand together against Zarak's loyalists. We cannot let fear divide us, she shouted, her voice cutting through the chaos. Allies joined her, forming a united front against the assailants. As the battle raged on, Maya's courage ignited the spirit of resistance among the crowd. Together, they fought back against the warlord's forces, proving that unity could turn the tide even in the direst circumstances. In that moment, Maya realized the true power of her words. The duel had become more than a debate. It was a testament to the strength of the coalition. With each clash, each rallying cry, they forged a new path, one that could lead them away from the brink of war and toward a future of cooperation. And as the dust began to settle, the tide of battle turned in their favor. She knew that the real duel was just beginning. The echoes of the arena battle faded, but the tension lingered thick in the air. Maya stood amid the aftermath, her heart still pounding from both the adrenaline of the fight and the weight of the moment. The unity she had forged among the coalition members felt fragile yet palpable. They had faced Zarak's loyalists together, but the warlord was not defeated. He remained a looming threat, and they needed to act swiftly to dismantle his plans before they could regroup. Good work, Maya Tharos, the imposing king of Valter said, his deep voice resonating with pride as he approached her. You showed true leadership today, but we need to strike while the iron is hot. Maya nodded, her mind racing with ideas. We must gather intelligence on Zarak's movements and his plans. If we can find out what he's scheming, we can undermine him before he can retaliate. As the coalition leaders convened to discuss their next steps, Maya felt a surge of optimism. They were finally united in purpose, ready to confront the warlord together. But as the discussions unfolded, an unsettling feeling crept into her mind, a nagging suspicion that not everything was as it seemed. Days later, in a secure meeting room aboard the Aegis Asterisk, the coalition leaders assembled. Maya glanced around the table, noting the camaraderie that had developed between them. Just as she began to outline her strategy, the door burst open, and a figure stumbled in, breathless and panicked. Zarak's spies have infiltrated our ranks, the envoy shouted, wide-eyed. They're among us, feeding him information. The room erupted into chaos. Accusations flew and trust began to fray. Maya felt a chill race down her spine. We need to identify the traitor before Zarak can use them against us, she insisted, trying to regain control of the situation. We can't afford to let fear divide us. I can't believe a human can lead us, a voice interjected, one she recognized as Gaxar, a Kaldrath elder. This is precisely what we feared. Your kind is reckless, and now we may all pay the price. Just as Maya was about to respond, another member, Joran, a prominent Zeltric strategist, stood up. Enough, he bellowed, his reptilian eyes piercing the room. We will not descend into infighting. Maya has already proven her worth. We must focus on our enemy. But the murmurs of doubt lingered. Trust was a fragile thread, and Zarek's machinations had begun to unravel it. As the meeting continued, Maya resolved to find the spy herself. She had to know who in their midst was betraying them. That night, she stealthily navigated through the Aegis Asterisk, following the faint echoes of whispered conversations. As she crept through the dimly lit corridors, she spotted a shadowy figure in the supply room, leaning over a holo table displaying encrypted messages. "Caught you," she whispered, stepping into the light. The figure spun around, their face concealed by a hood. "Maya," the voice hissed, laced with malice. "You're too late. Zarek knows everything." Maya's heart raced. "Who are you?" The hood fell back to reveal a familiar face, Halen, one of her most trusted allies from Kaldor Prime. "You should have stayed out of this, Maya. You're playing a dangerous game. Zarek offered me power, and I took it. You'll never defeat him." "No," Maya shouted, incredulous. "You were our ally. You stood with us against Zarek." "Ally? There's no power in weakness. Only strength can rule the galaxy," Halen sneered, his eyes glinting with fervor. "And I choose to side with the victor." As Halen turned to escape, Maya lunged forward, grabbing his arm. "You don't have to do this. We can still fight together." Halen broke free with a cruel laugh. "Fight together? You're deluded. I'd rather see you fail than witness a coalition of the weak." He slipped out of her grasp and vanished into the shadows, leaving Maya reeling. Betrayal cut deep, and the implications were staggering. Zarek now had an inside track to her strategies, her allies' weaknesses, and the very heart of their efforts. Maya rushed back to the meeting room, urgency propelling her forward. As she burst through the doors, she was met with the worried faces of her allies. "We have a traitor among us, Halen," she declared, her voice steady despite the turmoil within. The air thickened with tension as her words sank in. "We need to strengthen our defenses and remain vigilant. Zarek will not hesitate to exploit this chaos." Maya's heart sank, knowing the road ahead would be fraught with danger, but she felt a spark of resolve. They would confront Zarek, not only to save the coalition, but to reclaim the trust that had been shattered. The fight for unity was only just beginning, and she would not back down. The atmosphere aboard the Aegis Asterisk was electric with tension as Maya gathered her remaining allies. The revelation of Halen's betrayal had sent shockwaves through the coalition, igniting fear and doubt among the leaders. But instead of succumbing to despair, Maya drew strength from the urgency of their situation. They had to act quickly to counter Zarek's impending assault. "Listen up," Maya called, her voice cutting through the murmurs of uncertainty. "Zarek will strike while we're still reeling from Halen's betrayal. We need to present a united front. Trust is our greatest weapon now." Elder Thalia nodded, her luminescent skin shimmering with determination. "We must combine our forces and prepare for a counter-offensive. We cannot allow Zarek to think he has the upper hand." Maya felt the weight of her allies' gazes on her. "We'll divide into two teams. One will defend the Aegis Asterisk and the coalition's remaining assets, while the other strikes at Zarek's base to gather intelligence and cut off his resources." As they formulated their strategy, the members of the coalition began to come together, setting aside their doubts and divisions. Maya could feel the renewed sense of purpose coursing through the room. She would not let them down. Hours later, the coalition fleet surged through the void of space toward Zarek's stronghold, a dark fortress cloaked in the shadow of a nearby moon. Maya piloted the Aegis Asterisk, flanked by Tharos and Joran, who commanded the Zaltrix forces. The stars shimmered outside, a reminder of the vastness of their mission and the stakes at hand. Approaching Zarek's stronghold, Maya announced, her heart pounding. "Prepare for evasive maneuvers." As they neared the fortress, alarms blared across the ships. Zarek's forces had anticipated their move, and a fleet of Dracarian warships surged forward to intercept them. Maya clenched her jaw, adrenaline surging as she maneuvered the Aegis Asterisk, through the onslaught of laser fire. "Steady, Maya. We'll cover your six," Joran shouted, his ship weaving through enemy lines, unleashing a barrage of missiles that lit up the darkness. The battle erupted into chaos, with ships darting and weaving like dancers in a deadly ballet. Maya's focus sharpened as she navigated through the fray, her heart racing with every near miss. They were outnumbered, but the coalition's determination burned brighter than any foe. "Tharos, we need to break through. Focus on their shields," Maya shouted, her hands steady on the controls. the king's ships rallied alongside, blasting through the enemy defenses and creating an opening. "Now," Tharos commanded, and they surged through the breach, entering the atmosphere of the moon and heading toward the fortress below. Once inside the stronghold, Maya and her team disembarked, weapons drawn and resolve set. The interior was dark and foreboding, with the echoes of distant footsteps reverberating through the corridors. They moved stealthily, searching for intelligence that could turn the tide of the conflict. Suddenly, they were ambushed. Zarak's guards, fierce and loyal, flooded into the chamber. Chaos erupted as Maya and her allies fought fiercely. Energy blasts lit the dark halls as the coalition members held their ground, driven by their shared purpose. In the thick of the battle, Maya spotted Zarak himself, flanked by Halen. The betrayal twisted in her gut as she faced the former ally now turned enemy. "You're a fool, Maya, you can't hope to defeat us," Halen taunted, his voice dripping with disdain. "Maybe," she shot back, adrenaline coursing through her veins. "But we don't need to defeat you alone. We fight for our futures." With a fierce cry, Maya charged forward, her heart pounding as she engaged Halen directly. They clashed, and she could feel the weight of their past friendship turning to ashes with every blow exchanged. Meanwhile, the tide of the battle shifted as coalition forces rallied behind Maya. With every enemy they overcame, their unity grew stronger. The tide turned against Zarak's forces, driving them back deeper into the stronghold. Finally, with a final, desperate lunge, Maya disarmed Halen, sending his weapons skittering across the floor. "You've lost. It's not too late to join us," she shouted, breathless. Halen looked up at her, uncertainty flickering in his eyes, but before he could respond, Zarak roared in fury, his attention snapping to the unfolding chaos around him. "Enough of this," he bellowed, his voice echoing through the chamber. "I will not be undone by a coalition of weaklings." As the final confrontation began, the combined strength of the coalition surged forth, overwhelming Zarak and his forces. The warlord's bravado faltered, and panic crept into his demeanor. With one final push, Maya found herself face to face with Zarak, their weapons clashing in a deadly dance. "Your reign of terror ends today," she shouted, unleashing her full strength. As they fought, the realization hit her. This was not just a fight for survival, but for the very ideals that the coalition stood for. Each strike echoed with the promise of unity, of hope, of a brighter future. In a climactic moment, Maya seized the opportunity, disarming Zarak and forcing him to the ground. The warlord lay defeated, rage turning to desperation as he faced the very enemy he had sought to crush. "Your tyranny ends here," Maya declared, standing tall over him. "We choose peace, and together, we will build a future that includes all." As the dust settled, the remaining forces of Zarak surrendered, and the coalition emerged victorious. Cheers erupted from the gathered crowd, the sound echoing through the stronghold. Maya looked around at her allies, their faces reflecting a mix of relief and determination. They had overcome betrayal and faced their greatest enemy together. The bonds forged in battle were now unbreakable, and the promise of a united future stretched before them. As they left the fortress, Maya felt a sense of hope blossom within her. The fight had been arduous, but they had proven that unity could triumph over tyranny. Together, they would forge a new era, a galaxy where the light of cooperation outshone the shadows of fear. The coalition was reborn, and its future was brighter than ever.